My name is Grayson Schnellhardt, and I am 7 years old. This is what I look like. This is my family, and my house, and my school. I was diagnosed with diabetes 2 weeks after my first birthday. That was when my pancreas stopped working. This is what my mom looks like when she's worried. This is what my dad looks like when he's sad. This is my insulin pump that I wear all the time, and my Dex that I wear all the time, and the candy I eat when my number is low. My name is Grayson Schnellhardt, and I am 7 years old, and I have type 1 diabetes. And this is what one day looks like for me.
It's really hard to explain to people just a constant piece of your life, this disease. It's always there. It's 24/7. It's not a set it and forget it and just leave it behind. I mean, you have to plan every minute of every day and figure out the role that diabetes is going to have to play and how you're going to address that.
We are our children's pancreas. I mean, we are responsible for giving them insulin that allows food to go into their body and work the way it's supposed to for everybody. And I spend, and his dad, as we all do, countless hours behind the scenes. What can I take into account ahead of time?
We'll come down and do a check. I think breakfast is ready.
We refer to the prep of a meal as a decision matrix. Ideal numbers for a person without diabetes, their blood sugar rating would be about 80 to 120. For a diabetic, that's a little different. When he was diagnosed, his blood sugar was 705.
You kind of find yourself living in these 2-hour increments. You wake up, you eat, you take insulin. 2 hours later, you've got a test. 2 hours later, you're probably gonna eat again. You've got a test to make sure the sugar's in range. It's not like remembering to breathe, but I mean, it's pretty persistent. And if you let it slip, if you let it get out of hand, then you start to pay the consequences.
That's gonna be about 30, and then 2 more for some sausage.
My milk.
Your milk of okay, so another 6. We are always trying to keep Grayson at a certain blood sugar level that the rest of us are at that don't have diabetes. But so many things come into factor: exercise, activity, and stress. A lot of times, I mean, he's over it, and he's under it, and he's over it, and he's under it, and he knows. And we know.
Flips on the boom flag.
I'm putting more airheads and more Smarties in your kit, okay?
It's taking hours to get ready.
Wow, I know you really want to go down there, but can you put your
Stuff in there.
stuff in there?
Diabetes, you don't really want it because everything you do is just, you gotta get used to everything you do. Yeah. Hi, Colin. You going to the play date? I'm already all geared up.
You have a couple of choices with the disease. You can control everything, put them on a strict diet, control the situation, and you'll have great sugars. But is he really living and experiencing the life that you want? We've said to Grayson, you're going to experience this life and you're going to get everything out of it. So we don't really have a lot of restrictions. It puts a burden back on us and Grayson to do a lot of planning. And this is a lot of responsibility to put on a 7-year-old.
I have to be master of my diabetes because if my sugars go too high or low, it could be really dangerous. It takes a lot of responsibility.
I look at Grayson sometimes and see kind of this older soul traveling around in this young kid's body. I mean, Grayson has a lot of responsibility. He has to have a lot of maturity. And I mean, I am so proud of Grayson. I mean, with everything that he has to deal with and get through in a day. And still be, nothing lower than a 97 on his last report card. The life of the party. I mean, I couldn't be more proud of him. But at the same time, you kind of hurt for that. You just hope that they don't lose, kind of everything that it is to be a kid.
I didn't make it home in time one day to meet him right at the bus stop, so a neighbor scooped him up off the bus. Her kids ran straight to the refrigerator. And she's like, well, what can you have? And he's like, well, I can have water. And he said, because if I don't, I need to do a test, and my mom probably needs to give me insulin, and I don't know how many carbs are in those snacks. And, I remember her telling me that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you, I'm so proud of you. And then I know it inside. I was so proud, but so sad. And there's just times where you just want to take that from your baby so bad, and you can't.
All right, guys, come here. Hey, everybody in. When you call your play, when you come around there, find somebody. Do not dribble the whole hour, okay? Find somebody past you, make good shots. Everybody in.
Don't dribble to California.
That's right. 1, 2, 3, Aggie!
My favorite sport is basketball because I get to dribble the ball a lot. And usually right in the middle of basketball, my sugars are a little low, and then we have to test.
Grayson loves basketball. He really wanted to play. So I've got kind of a process where I'm allowed to sit behind the bench, and then we do a test right before, we do a test at halftime, and we just kind of keep an eye on things.
Living with diabetes, I would definitely say my main goal is to keep him as normal as possible. But it's also coupled with keeping him as healthy as possible. It's a fine line.
Hey, Grayson, step into my office.
My dad calls it his office so I don't get embarrassed by other people who are watching me on the bench. When I get out of my game, it's like I let my team down, and like everybody just stares at me, and I hate it. I did not like it.
Take another couple sips for me, buddy. Take another couple for me. You're a little low.
He hasn't known a life any different, right? I think when he was younger, he probably thought that everybody's mom and dad chased him around the house with needles. But as he's gotten older, he's very aware of the fact that he's different.
One thing you won't like about when you get diabetes is you got a lot of cables on yourself.
Grayson's insulin pump site's probably about the size of like a nickel or a quarter. You have to, every 3 days, change that site because you'll get scar tissue, and as scar tissue builds up, the insulin can't get into his system.
All right, Grayson, I need you to relax, okay? You okay, buddy? Mm-hmm. Okay. To say that you hate the disease, I mean, hate is a gross understatement. The more he's in range, the healthier he'll be. But you're working against a disease that always seems to have the upper hand. The statistics show that about 2/3 of the time, no matter how hard you work, the number's gonna be bad. And that means all this effort you're putting in to keep this child healthy, you're pretty much failing most of the time.
It's short term, it's dangerous. He could pass out, have a seizure, he could go long term into a coma. He could lose his sight. His sight could be rendered problematic. I worry a lot about the numbness in his fingers and toes. Thought of an amputation because of that is really scary.
If I don't know that my sugars are high and I eat too much candy, I might die. And then if my sugars are too low and if I bolus, I might die too.
My darkest days are when you've done everything you could to get it right, and you pull out that monitor, and you see a 400, or you see a 500, and you're exhausted, and you just had it, and you've been trying so hard, and I look at that monitor, and I'm like, did I just take a day off of his life? Could I have done more to keep him in range? Could I have done more to keep him healthy? When you spend any time with Grayson that he is destined for greatness and great things. I want him to have all the miles on his odometer that we can possibly give him. And the technology that is available today is so important for better management of the disease.
The progress that has come just in Grayson's life is amazing. The latest technology is called a continuous glucose monitor. A lot of people call them CGMs, and we now call Dex one of the latest members of our family. And having him on Dex has given us a lot tighter control.
JDRF is involved heavily in bringing a lot of that technology to bear. They've sponsored the clinical trials for the pediatric age group for the Dexcom CGM. If JDRF doesn't do that, frankly, we probably don't have it.
On the horizon is the artificial pancreas. It is the closest thing I think we're going to have to date that's going to mirror what our bodies can do.
There's over $500 million in active research that JDRF is funding to work towards that cure and find ways to prevent and better manage the disease. And to me, the scope and the magnitude of that is really impressive, and it's why we just take so much hope into the future.
They call you cool nicknames in public. Hey, Thor.
In the quiet of the night, you crawl into bed, you read a few stories, and Grayson just comes out with these zingers sometimes. You know, he just kind of looks at you and he's like, Dad, am I always gonna have diabetes? You know, you're just laying there in bed with your son in your arms, and you're like, you know, that's why we do all the things with JDRF, Grayson, so we can find a cure. Is JDRF gonna find a cure? And you say yes. Yes, they are.
This is what my room looks like at bedtime. These are my toys and my trophies. This is the college I want to go to when I get older. This is what I want to be when I grow up, a teacher. Maybe I won't still have diabetes when I'm a teacher. Maybe we'll have cured it. This is what my dad looks like when he's hopeful. And my mom when she's happy for me. My name is Grayson and I am 7 years old. I've always had diabetes, but I don't think I always will.